Hi, and welcome to Death is My Life podcast. I'm your hostess, Jolene. I want to talk to you today about non-death sources of grief through one of my personal experiences that I am still healing from. It's something that kind of brings me to my knees every time I think about it, so here I am airing it for the entire world to listen to and try to get it out there. This is my third time trying to record it, and I keep having a coughing fit. I don't have allergies, I don't have asthma, I don't have a cold, I didn't even have a cough until literally the second I started talking about it. So, I'm just gonna bear through the coughs. It's kind of funny because it's making me talk about something painful over and over and over and over. So, okay. I have three beautiful, wonderful, lovely, amazing children. I have an 18-year-old daughter, Harley, almost 4-year-old daughter, Horizon, and an almost 2-year-old son, Obsidian. I was pretty young when I had Harley, so when she was born, we had gone to the hospital, we got induced because that was what was convenient. I had the epidural. I just did what I thought was normal. I didn't know any other way, and it was like uncomfortable and awkward. I'm like a really modest person, and there's these people watching you, and it's just I didn't love it, but I didn't know any different, so I don't have any regrets, any remorse with that situation, because I didn't know. But so as I grew as a human and evolved, I found more holistic, natural medicine was more in alignment with who I have become, and decided to have Horizon at home. And I got a midwife. Shout out to Tiffany. She was amazing. We had so much fun at all our prenatal appointments and postnatal appointments, and she was just so supportive, available all the time if I had a question. And I had such an easy pregnancy. I didn't have any nausea. I had it was so great. I had been exercising regularly leading up into that pregnancy, so I continued that all the way until I had her, basically. I was eating pretty good. Can't say super healthy, but I was eating pretty good and exercising, and I had a job that did not stress me out. I was actually a hospice nurse at that time, and I left for a couple years and came back, but that's another day's story. So Horizon came. we bought a house, our first house, when I was like 10 months pregnant. It was at like 39 weeks or something, and we bought our house and moved into it. I remember pounding stake posts in to put the fence up for my dog, like at that much pregnant, because I was strong and I was healthy and I could do it safely, and I was planning on having her at my parents' house, which is closer to the hospital. I live like 40 minutes out of town. It's bigger for, all the family to be present, but allow me for the privacy I would need. I could set up the birthing tub. Just my house was like, brand new. A week we had been there probably, and so that was the plan. I was watching Dexter with my husband one night, and my daughter, my oldest, Harley, was 14 at the time. She was there, and everybody, we're just kind of waiting around, and then I felt like a little ding. It didn't hurt. It was like almost like a little tickle, like a little flutter. And I was timing them, and there was no rhyme or reason to them. I had, I thought contractions should get more painful and closer together and longer, and that never happened. They were like all over the place. So I was keeping in good communication with Tiffany, the midwife, and she's like, oh, okay, well, they're like irregular still, like it could, who knows if it's even false labor or real labor or what, just keep me posted. So I told my husband and my daughter to take a nap because we probably have to pack up and go pretty soon. And I was just gonna deal with it, it wasn't painful at all at that point. It was just a little flutter, but I knew something was going on, so I told him to go to take a nap. But then my water broke, and all heck broke loose, and then everything happened super fast after that. It was like, I think from the time my water broke to the time she was born was about 45 minutes, which, like I said, the drive was 40 minutes. So we called my mom, and she was like, just come on over, get in the car, it's gonna be okay. And I was like, you're crazy, I can't get in the car, there's no way. I was going from the bed, just like writhing around during my contractions, to the toilet and just sitting there trying to comfort my daughter, tell her I'm okay, this is okay. It was, and she was fine. She was a solid, rock hard, awesome. So then, this is not the grief story, because obviously this story makes me super happy. So then I was going from the bed to the toilet, finally told my mom and my sisters, I can't get in the car, you guys have to come here. So they said, okay, we're coming. And then my midwife, my daughter was just being super awesome and, making all the calls for me. So called the midwife. I got in the bathtub, and basically horizon just kind of like slipped out as soon as I did that. Like the contractions just instantly changed. They were no longer painful. It was just more of a pushing. So I kind of held onto the side of the bathtub and just boop. She came right out into the bathtub. And the plan was supposed to be for like my husband to catch her, but he's like, I can't reach her because our bathtub is pretty tall, and she was behind me. So I got to reach down into the bathtub and grab my baby. And it was just it felt so good and so natural and self-sufficient. And so she was born, and it was beautiful. And then, like, after that, I fed her, and still in the bathtub, and there was, like, a bloody bathtub when everybody else got there. Like, it just all happened so fast. So, that was the story of Horizon's birth. And story for another day, that opened some whole kind of spiritual awakening in the household, but I'll talk to you guys about that another time, because that's a different story. Okay, so then she was like about a year and a half when I got pregnant with Obsidian, and I had just, they tell you not to make any big, huge changes when, like, you're hormonal, I guess. So I did. I had quit my job and got a different job, which was horrible and stupid, and I hated it. And I just, had needed a break from hospice, I guess. But at that time, so I tried something else, and this job was so stressful, and I was working 5 days a week, more than 40 hours a week, and, there were some, toxic relationships in that work. There were some beautiful relationships, too, okay? I made some, one of my best friends through that job, and anyways, moving on. I was not as healthy for this pregnancy with my son. I had just had a baby, and I was stressed, through my job, which came home and stressed with my husband, and I wasn't eating. I was just eating like whatever donuts, garbage that I wanted to, basically, because I was coping with stress through food. And I was pregnant, so I'm like, I'm gonna allow this. So that was my first mistake, was, the stress, not honoring my pregnancy like I did with Horizon and Harley. And my second mistake was the stupidest, that makes me so mad, is financial. I hate how sometimes we allow finances to make decisions for us. And the stupid thing is, so I just thought at the time I couldn't come up with the money for the midwife, which now looking back was, yes, I could have. And looking back, the hospital charged me the same exact dollar amount after my insurance that my midwife would have cost. So it's just sickening. Like, I regret, I hate that I did that. So I didn't go with my midwife, and I said, I'm just gonna have a free birth. So I'm gonna sign up with the prenatal care from the hospital, and I'm gonna have a free birth. So that was my plan. But the second I signed up with the hospital OBGYN, something inside me knew, like, you're gonna have a hospital birth. But I fought it. I did like a free birth class, which Free Birth Society course and podcast is awesome. And I listened to it, and I was like trying to manifest it, but I think I already had manifested the hospital birth, and I didn't want it. But I don't know whatever happened. So by the time I went on to my maternity leave, I was so sick. I think it's called cholelithitis, where your bile in your liver are not functioning well. So my bile levels were like through the roof. My liver enzymes were through the roof, which I think they're all supposed to be 0. And they were like 99 or something. My skin was crawling. It was so itchy all the time, but it was deep. So I was just scratching and couldn't ever itch the scratch. And I had heartburn, like not normal pregnancy heartburn. I had just constant fire in my esophagus. So at my appointment, my prenatal appointment, at that point, my son should have been born 2 weeks later, but they told me after seeing my labs that his heart could just stop suddenly, and I had to go and get induced right now, and I didn't have the capacity. I didn't feel good, so I was kind of like, well, okay. I drank a bunch of castor oil to try to get him out, and it didn't work, unfortunately. I had, I didn't have the capacity to do any research to see, like, what's the statistic, and when you hear that and you're pregnant, like, your baby, like, your mind just goes to a different place, and you're scared, so, okay, we'll do whatever it takes. And I told my husband, and he's like, really? Do you think we could go tomorrow after snowboarding? And I was like, I don't know. I don't want to go at all. But, yeah, I don't know. They're telling me this, so let's go. So we got in the car, and it was a miserable trip. It was icy, and we had to take Horizon to be babysat at my mom's sister's house or somewhere. And Harley was with me because she was my birth partner. And I just bawled the entire time, which my poor husband, like, it stresses him out because, I don't cry a ton, so he doesn't really know, like, what to do. So I was so miserable, and I don't think he understood what it meant to me to have the babies at home. To him, it was just, I think to him, it was just kind of a little more convenient to have them at home, but he didn't have as much weight in the game like I did. Like, it was an emotional decision, something I wanted. The way I wanted my son to start his life was at home. And So I was just wailing, bawling, screaming. He dropped me and Harley off at the hospital and went to take Horizon and then came back. I was wailing through the halls of the hospital. I was wailing in the lobby, in my delivery room, checking in. I couldn't even tell them my name. Harley had to do all that check-in for me. My husband got back to the hospital and we just all kind of sat there because you can't do anything. You can't move. You have the monitors on you. They say you're free to walk around, but if you breathe wrong, the monitor falls off. Even if you don't breathe wrong, the baby kicks or you have a contraction, the monitor moves or becomes rushing in to move it. Like, there's got to be a better system. But, so I couldn't move. So I was just stuck in bed, my bed of misery. And nothing happened. They tried to induce me, nothing, like, they're like, you're having contractions. I was like, oh, cool, I don't know, I didn't know. I'm just miserable. And then the next morning, I think they offered, like, okay, do you want to increase the Pitocin or do you want to break your water? And I was like, just break my water because that worked last time. So they did, and it's the same thing. Right after the water broke, everything happened really super fast, and the contractions went from like 0 on a pain level to 10, and the pain, the physical pain, was like the same. The sensation itself was the same as when I was having Horizon, and it was amplified 1,000 times by my emotional distress. I could not release that I didn't want to be there. I just kept saying, I don't want to be here, this isn't right, I don't want to be here, and I what so it was painful, it was horrible. I obviously didn't have any medications for my birth with Horizon, and it was fine. And then with Obsidian, I was like, give me whatever you have, I am in so much pain right now. And they went to prepare it, but turns out they were like, well, do you feel like pushing? And I said, well, yeah, I'm having a baby. And they're like, oh, well, then it's too late for you to get medication. And I was like, okay, so I'll just sit here and die. And so I laid there for, I don't know, a couple more contractions and then felt pushing contractions open on the observation table with everybody telling me what to do, not being able to move or shift positions, and somebody else with their gloves caught my son and handed him to me. And he was perfect and beautiful and a perfect, beautiful little boy and wonderful in every way. So I still to this day, he's almost 2, and I am still struggling with it. I regret that because I can never go back and change how he was born, how he entered this world. And I know that it came out of a place of fear and love for him that we ended up going there. And he's absolutely fine. And I don't think he knows the difference, to be honest. But maybe he does. I don't know. But he's great and wonderful, so I can be happy about that. Like, there really wasn't any negative impact on him. I mean, obviously, he's very healthy. There was no negative impact on him. That's why we went there, to make sure he was safe. I do have a lot of regret, because I don't know if I would have eaten healthier or had a better job or exercised more, been more at peace. Could I have changed the outcome if I would have just signed up with the midwife and not worried about money? Could I have changed the outcome? But it is what it is now, and that's my story, and I have teared up whenever I try to tell anybody about his birth, and then especially when other home birth people are talking to me about their beautiful home births, I get like really jealous and happy for them, of course, but like really sad about that mine not working out. And so it's been really hard. He's almost 2, and he's hilarious and wonderful, and I appreciate you guys listening to my story so that I can release it now. I've journaled about it, just how it made me feel, how I regret it, and how I could have made another decision. I guess I could have just stayed home and played it out. And I think honestly, maybe he would have been fine. I don't know. But I took the path I took, and I have a beautiful family, and I have to move forward. I have to move on. So that's my grief story. And some people will say having a hospital birth is natural and it's okay, and they will never understand my grief over this. So we have to accept that, like, we can't feel somebody else's grief, how they're feeling it. We can only try to have compassion for the fact that they have grief about it. I do think, like, besides my midwife, I don't think anybody my midwife and maybe Harley, because she had to experience the terror of my cries. But I really don't think anybody else, like, really understands the grief, or, like, the why it affected me so bad, or that it does. I don't think I talk about it, but I did. I mean, my sisters knew I was upset, and I had called my mom crying on our way, and so upset. She thought something was wrong with the baby, but it was wrong with, with me and my emotions. So, I guess the moral of my story is it's okay to release your grief. You don't have to continue to hold on to it. And have compassion for when other people are grieving, even if you don't agree with their source of grief. I will say I wrote a grief journal that is in my bio, so go ahead and check that out. It's like pay what you think it's worth kind of situation, because I want everybody to have access to it. So that was actually really helpful too, because I got to think about the prompts as I was writing it. Okay, thank you guys. Thank you everybody for listening. Feel free to share your stories with me.